All right, I'm going to go through the demonstration of a loaded split squat. And this is basically a lunge shape. It's a bit different than most of the lunges that I use in my yoga classes, because a big difference. A lot of the principle of most of the lunges I usually do. You have 1 foot forward, 1 leg back, you keep the hips squared and in line, and then the big thing is that the front knee is usually over the ankle, maybe a little bit behind. Now this is going to be a little bit different because it's going to be a shorter stance, and this is about folding the front leg as much as possible and then sinking the back leg down without stressing the knee too much, but you're trying to get into the hip flexor, which is why I'm holding on to this weight right here. And I've got about 20 pounds in my hand. Now, if you haven't done this kind of thing and the hip flexors aren't used to taking that kind of load, you probably want to start with something a little bit lighter so just feel things out. And this isn't my maximum by any means. This is so I can do a bunch of repetitions and take it back and forth, because I want to let everything go forward, come into as much of a bend in that front leg as I can as I'm lengthening out the hip flexor, basically the muscles that are right in front of the pelvis. So coming into this, you have to take a moment to figure out your stance. So my usual lunge stance looks something like this, and basically I'm going to shift this whole thing forward from here. So I've got my knee over my ankle, my heels lifted behind, the feet are on 2 separate tracks so that my hips are squared, so the feet are set about hips width distance apart, side to side. Now as I come down, I'm going to bring this forward as much as I can, and so my heel's lifting on that front leg and I'm going into the ankle, and then pulling that back hip forward and then coming back up. Now I'm actually going to shorten that a little bit so I can come down a little bit deeper. So I just brought my foot back and maybe 6 inches or so. I've got the wall right here so I don't have to worry about balance. This weight is just to load this back hip, and then I'm going to bring this forward again and press that front knee forward as much as possible, pull the back hip forward, and then come back up. I'm just taking it back and forth like this. Now when you come into this, so that this weight will actually make some sense for stretching out the hip flexor, you want to be sure you're not rounding forward. Keep your shoulders back. That's going to lengthen out that space in front of the pelvis. And you're just taking it back and forth, folding into the front leg as much as possible. And you may find if you have enough ankle mobility, you might even be able to keep your heel down. But you're trying to project that knee forward, lean against the wall if you need to for balance. This is actually kind of hard to do in the middle of the floor. And then just bring it back and forth like that. And I'll take it on the other leg just to demonstrate here. So now my left hand's at the wall, my left foot's forward, and my right leg's going to be back. And again, I'm just trying to find the position for my usual lunge, which would probably be about here. This is my usual high lunge stance. I'm going to bring the front foot back just a few inches and then feel it out. So I lift the front heel, pull the back hip forward, keep the hips squared, and then come back up. And then again, sinking down, pulling the back hip forward, and coming back up. And you got to play around with this a little bit, but really the purpose of this movement for me is getting into the hip flexor of the back leg, which is why I'm loading it right here. So as long as I can feel that stretch, I'm basically doing fine. So basically this is one way to get into the hip flexor without having to have your legs too far apart, and at the same time get into the complete folding of the front leg so you can start to feel some tension around that knee and strengthen the knee joint. Anyway, hope this helps.